Good evening, dear sisters and brothers. A very hearty welcome to today's session of Being Heartful Every Day, a joyful inward joy. As all of you are aware, we are doing this program as a part of Babuji Maharaj's 125th birth anniversary celebrations. So a very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Prasanna Krishna. I'll be facilitating today's program. Before we start the program, a very gentle reminder that let's try to send the master classes link to at least a couple of friends and family members who are not yet practicing heartfulness. And if you know of somebody who's already practicing but is not registered for this program, Being Heartful Every Day, please do send the link across. With this brief introduction, let's start the program today. To start off the program, let's look at the reading we completed yesterday, and we'll start from where we left off. We completed the second paragraph yesterday, where I think both Swami Vivekananda and Babuji Maharaj have emphasized that in spirituality, we're moving from an animal man to a human man to a divine man. And Daji has also explained how the lower chakras, which are associated with animalistic instinctual responses, they no longer govern, but it is our behavior is governed by the chakras of the heart region. So let's continue. We'll start with the last paragraph. But the first step is to purify the field of consciousness through which we respond to the world around us, by removing all complexities and impurities. When we are burdened with so many subconscious programs resulting from all the complexities and impurities we have accumulated, threats will always be perceived. Per contra, the purer the consciousness, the greater the level of discernment, it goes up proportionately. When we can rise above reactiveness, when we can pause, the wisdom of the heart can truly guide our responses and decisions. Again, the highlighted text, when we can rise above reactiveness, when we can pause, the wisdom of the heart can truly guide our responses. Heartfulness practices create the habits of peace and compassion. In practical terms, it is heartfulness cleaning that purifies consciousness. Without purifications, we don't remove the complexities that are the root cause of subconscious programs. And it's very difficult to change our patterns of habitual response. This doesn't mean we no longer need the flight or fight response. That response is there for survival. For example, if there is a fire is threatening your home, we don't need to act to save your family. What changes is that a purified meditative mind will respond only when it is truly needed. And it also responds in a more refined way rather than reactively. It is through heartfulness meditation that we learn to pause, so that the soul can witness and respond through the heart's wisdom in any situation. And through prayer, we develop the habit of resting in the soul's realm. And the thread becomes vacuumized so that the flow of the current of divinity can fill our being. A simple analogy is the flow of the current from positive to negative telegraphy. Negative in telegraphy. We may still be aware of fear, anger, and anxiety as they are useful emotions. They alert us to the need to respond or change. But how we respond, how we use these emotions for positive change, for the betterment of all, is life transforming. We are able to master them so that they take us forward rather than keeping us locked into patterns of emotional turbulence, conflict, and violence. By violence, I don't just mean the physical violence. It can be emotional violence, passive-aggressive behavior, and resentment in the case of a person who feels victimized. Violence can also be expressed through withdrawal. Anything that hurts another being can be included in this umbrella of violence. A degree of mastery over these emotions come from regular meditative practices, which refine the mind so that it responds from a progressively higher and higher plane of awareness. The mind works best when it is guided by the wisdom of a pure heart. In fact, even the regions of the brain that are activated are different. One of the main catalysts to bring about this mastery over a reactiveness is yogic transmission. Why is it so? For this, we need to first remind ourselves of a human anatomy. The three bodies. We have a physical body of matter. We also have a subtle body known as the astral or the mental body, which is mainly. It is what we also know as the field of consciousness of the heart and mind. Our third body, the causal body, or the cause of our existence, is the soul. The soul is associated with the absolute state of nothingness, the substratum of existence. It is pure, unchanging, and immutable. When we identify mostly with the physical body, then it is easy to be surrounded by threats in day-to-day life because our physical being is constantly being bombarded and may not be in a state of full health and well-being. By the way, the part of the mind that creates this sense of identity is the ego, ahankar in yoga. When we identify mostly with the subtle body, our thoughts, feelings, emotions, intellect, knowledge, and ego, we will also be susceptible to threats in day-to-day life because our minds and hearts are also constantly being bombarded, even more than our physical bodies. Think of an emotional upheaval created by an argument with your partner, your teenage child, or a work colleague, and you will understand how destabilizing this can be to the peace of mind of all individuals involved. This is why we have a stress epidemic in the 21st century, which is clinically affecting the mental health of more than 10% of the world's population, according to World Economic Forum. Now, let's compare this with what happens when we identify with the soul, which we do when we have a spiritual core and we acknowledge that we are souls having a human experience in this world. Then something very different happens. The soul is the still, peaceful center of our being and like the eye of a tornado. Swami Vivekananda spoke beautifully about the shift of attention in his lecture called Nature and Man, which you can find in his complete works, volume 6. He says the whole process of evolution is the soul's struggle to manifest itself. It is a constant struggle against nature. I think I'll stop here. I realized that there was an overlap with what we read yesterday. I think it's worth reading. So let's try to get into the universal prayer. Let's introspect on what we just finished reading. It's about 9 o'clock now. So let's start a universal prayer. Let's all sit with our eyes closed, sit comfortably, with a very prayerful thought in our heart that all brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. I think, like we spoke yesterday, it is the attitude with which we do this prayer that's important rather than the actual words in the prayer. Actual words will only help us guide our attitude for prayer. All brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. हम अपना यूनिवर्सल प्रेयर शुरू करेंगे. अपना हृदय में एक गहरा प्रार्थना की भाव लेके हम ये प्रार्थना करेंगे कि सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है. जैसे हमने कल भी बात किया, इन शब्दों से हम वो भावना को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस देना चाहिए. हम ये प्रार्थना करेंगे, फिर से पढ़ूंगा मैं. सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है. लेट्स स्टार्ट अ यूनिवर्सल प्रेयर. लेट्स कंटिन्यू अ यूनिवर्सल प्रेयर टिल 9:50. Let's gently open our eyes and try to retain the prayerful condition we have created within our own hearts. So we come to the end of today's session. Let's all meet again at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's all part with a gentle reminder that we'll have to sit for a bedtime prayer before we go to bed. See you all tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.